The idea is I'll talk for about 40 something minutes, and then after that I'll have like 15 minutes just to questions and have a chat and discuss things. So, but yeah, so maybe write down questions and then just talk about them. So just a little bit about myself first, just so you know why I'm here. I studied, I'm a Brazilian as well, like everyone else, or most of us here. And I studied in Brazil civil engineering for 5-6 years actually. And I've got a scholarship in UQ at the end, University of Queensland in Brisbane. I know some of you might know the Science Without Borders program. Back then was the program like a scholarship from the government. And I've got that in 2013, and I was studying here for 1 year. So that's when I got in touch with these guys, the company I work at the moment. And so at the end of that 1 year experience, we could choose between doing a research or do an internship. And because I'd done some research before, I didn't want to do it. So I started looking for an internship. That's what I wanted at that stage. At that time, I probably called most companies in Brisbane to get that. Even willing to work for free. It's not easy to get that. So I called them, some of them twice, but after a few months, I got an interview and I got the position. So I worked 2 months for free for this company. That's before going back to Brazil. I had to go back to finish the degree because I haven't finished yet at that time. So then I went back to Brazil, stayed for 2 years there, one finishing degree, and the other year trying to figure out how to come back. And I had this offer from the company, but everything happened. I'll need probably another hour to talk about that, the whole year, everything that happened. So I won, but at the end of the year, everything worked out, and I came back to work for this company here. So I started working for them in January 2016, so I've been doing it for 4 years and something, as a project engineer and project manager. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So I have an agenda here about what I want to talk about. The first thing is how the projects are run here in Australia, in the real world, or how it works. So it depends a lot, depends on the size of the company or the type of company you're going to be working for, the industry. Like my industry is construction, so I work in construction and demolition. So I'll talk more about that, but I'll try to give some examples about IT and other things. Just because you guys, some of you guys are studying IT as well. So it depends on the size of the company. In my industry, in construction, you have some big companies called Tier 1. Those Tier 1 companies are like the biggest ones, the ones that build hospitals or skyscrapers. For example, Lend-Lease or Multiplex, these kind of companies. If you work for a company like this in future, you're probably gonna be a specialist in something, because it's too many procedures, too many people as well. So you'll be doing QA, quality, or you'll be checking the subcontractors or checking contracts and stuff like that. And if you work for a smaller company, usually you do more things. Like you need to be a one-man band, and so you're gonna do a budget, you're gonna do a contract, and you're gonna help the guys on site do everything. My company is a big company. It's the biggest demolition company in the world. But for some reason here, because we're a smaller branch in Queensland, Melbourne scene is different. But because it's a smaller branch here, we do everything. So you just go on site and you just do everything with the supervisor and organize the whole lot, which is good for experience. It's very stressful sometimes, but it's good. You learn how to do the whole project from start to finish. Something that I noticed in Australia, which is different than Brazil, is that we have very high responsibilities here early. For example, the first year working here, I was helping other guys, experienced engineers, and learning how to do everything here, how it worked in Australia. But after just 1 year, I started running projects by myself, and it was literally like that. So in Brazil, for example, if I was working there, I think I'm pretty sure at the moment, after the experience I have, I will start running a job by myself now, like after 5 years at least. You're always helping the engineers, and I think here, I'm not quite sure why that happened here. I think they trust you more because they kind of need to. They don't have a lot of qualified people. To just have 3 engineers on site, and it's expensive as well. So that's why you just fly solo quicker. And also they have a lot of procedures as well. So the client, they won't let you do anything if you don't prove them you have everything planned. So I can't start work if I don't show them all the management plans, all the safety paperwork and everything. So the system kind of allows you to be more responsible, to be there and do this kind of thing for yourself with less risk as well. So how it works usually in construction, and pretty sure probably most projects as well, you have so you get a project, the company gets a project, and then they give you a contract with the client, some sort of budget, and like the drawings or some design or some specification if it's a website, for example. And then
Who gives you the budget?
Depends again, like if you're working in a company, like in my situation, for example, you have an estimator. So the estimator, the company, and the divisional manager, they'll get out there, send the tenders, and when they get a project, as soon as they get a project, sign a contract with the client, they're gonna go for the project manager, say, look, we got this project, here's the drawings, here's the contract, the budget, everything you need. Go. Good luck.
Okay.
Make some money if you can.
When we teach about how projects start according to the PMBOK, there's a document called Project Charter that has the rough estimate of the magnitude of the project. So it will say roughly how long it should take, and roughly what the budget is, and roughly what we're trying to accomplish, and probably the major milestones to it. And we also teach that if you're a company that's running projects regularly like yours, then the contract with the client becomes the project charter. It has all that sort of information in it already.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm asking you is, what is the document in your workplace that signifies the beginning of a project?
You have a few procedures internally as well, which is when you need to set up a project internally in the company. So you need to open a PO and everything. But I think it's pretty much a package. Like you're gonna get a package with all the information, the contract, the estimate budget, draft or the program.
Who do you get it from?
The divisional manager.
Divisional manager.
Yeah, the manager.
And you're a project manager for a certain division, or you're just one of many project managers?
The division is Queensland. So
okay.
yeah, so usually run Queensland, like run projects in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Mackay, Hay Point, Kingscliff, and like a bit of north of New South Wales as well, just because it's close to Brisbane. Yeah.
How many projects do you have simultaneously?
I had in the past 5, and that was pretty hectic. Yeah, because I was living in Brisbane and running 5 jobs in Gold Coast, 4 in Gold Coast and 1 in Ipswich, and that time was not very fun. It was like driving a lot and working 14 hours.
So what's a good number? How many projects can you run at the same time?
Depends on the resources you have as well. Like if you have people on site, like if you have a reliable site engineer, then it makes your life easier. You can just pretty much have a look, do some audit, check everything's working well. No worries, that's what I want to get this week.
Because you can delegate authorities.
Yeah, but if you one-man band, like this is a smaller company and you're doing everything, then this is a different story.
What do you mean a small company that you source?
For example, I have subcontractors working for us, and a subcontractor is a smaller company. Their engineer is there, they do everything. So he'll deal with me with contract, deal with me with budget, and send claims for like financially and everything, but he will also do the safety, the quality audits, he'll deal internally, he'll do everything. And I've done it before as well. If this project is smaller, it's a huge project, you can't do it. So it's not just the number of projects, it's the size of the project, like, and depends on the client as well, and the resources you have. Like you have a reliable supervisor on site, a reliable site engineer on site. That makes a huge difference as well. Yeah. And client, for example, can I do my if I mention companies' names or no? Okay. So for example, Lendlease, tier 1 company, the amount of procedures you have, just crazy coming by yourself. Everything you do, you're gonna pour concrete, you need to do a form and approval and this and that, and engineering sign off, and so much paperwork to do something simple, or safety paperwork, it's impossible.
But they have less accidents, or?
Ah, definitely, yeah. The risk is
Minimal.
minimal, yeah. Cool, so, yeah, as I said, so it's in construction, like, you're gonna be dealing a lot with safety, environmental, and quality, and of course, budget or money somehow. And you're gonna be running, so you get this information from the client, or you get the information from your manager or someone, and then you organize the whole methodology for the job. You plan yourself, do the project management plans, do all the safety paperwork and everything, and start organizing financially. You have your financial plan and everything, and you usually, as a project manager, you do it. You can even change the methodology, change the program as well, and that's usually how it works.
How do you develop, are you using a software to develop the project management plan, or are you just using paper, or how do you do it?
Usually you just, it's a Word document or
A
the
Word
project management
document.
plan. Yeah.
What's the reason you're not using a software?
I don't know. I need to check with the company why they would. But I don't know if we're talking about the same project management plan. That's a project management plan for a project on site. It's literally just saying, for example, the environmental part of the plan. You say, okay, the material I'll get from the site, I will transport to this location, and it's gonna be recycled or not, this kind of thing. So it's literally a plan how we're gonna manage all the resources and stuff there. I don't know if that's exactly the same. But
well, you keep on telling us, and then I'll tell you if it's the same. I'll probably have a lot more questions about this.
Yeah, all good. So also, on site, so the contract management will be a big one as well for a project manager. And that's everywhere, is like construction, IT, anywhere. And you need to be very sharp and need to have always a quick response when you're dealing with the contracts, because usually you have some time frame to act on contracts. So for example, when you have a delay or you need to send a variation to the client, you're working, something happens, change in design, or even like a rain event and you're gonna delay. So you need to provide a formal notice to your client, and then you have a time frame. So usually in your contract will say you have 5 business days to send a variation. And yeah, that can be very tricky. For example, I just came out of Tui Valley Hospital in Kingscliff. I finished this project like a month ago or so, and they've changed the design a few times. And every time you're doing this on the go. So contract management needs to be very sharp. That's why I need experience and need to know exactly what's in your contract. And it's one of the main roles of the project manager, in my opinion.
Who is developing the contract?
Usually the client, in the case of my company, you have the division manager, and he works with the client. So as soon as we send a tender when they're pricing the job, and they have some negotiation with the client, as soon as they say, yeah, all good, we're gonna give you the project, you got awarded the project, then they're gonna send a contract. And usually there's a lot of backs and forth in the contract, because you wanna add some clause and cross some other stuff, and after they have a final contract, they sign, and that's it. You have to.
What's an example of a project budget? like for the ones you're managing? Like the hospital, how much is it? What are we talking about? What's the
$10 million.
$10 million?
Yeah. And that's not the whole hospital, that's a package. So my package in that job was roadworks around the perimeter of the hospital, early works and all earthworks, which is moving, cut and fill, moving dirt, and then building roads. Is everything they need before the actual structures start being built up. So that's $10 million. And a variation in that job. Like I started with $10 million, it added up like 4 or 5 million at least in variations. Yeah. They changed it, like literally changed the design 36 times.
And these changes are
Yeah.
coming from the client?
Yeah, something they do here in Australia, just to get things in theory quicker, is they start the project before getting the final design. It's very tricky if you're running the job, because why is that? To do the design, you need months to actually do a proper like hospital design. Instead of waiting those 3 months and then finalizing the design and getting the guys to price, you literally just get a draft design and say, yep, that's how it's gonna be. Here we go, start building it, and then you...
And if you need to change something, because like usually with the hospitals, like it's really tough, so sometimes like if they gave you a draft and they need to change it.
They did 36 times. I had a variation revision 40 something. I say, guys, I can't look at this anymore. Stop it. I won't do it.
But how
If you don't
much
accept
this
it,
cost at the end, like
For us,
for them? A lot.
like for example, this one costs more than 50% of the contract. I started with 10 and then we were 15 at the end, $1 million. So it can be very costly. But it's literally like that. We're building something, like they're building piles on the ground, and then suddenly the client say, by the way, there's a new drawing, there's a new that pile that we just built here is gonna be there. And like, cool, sounds good. So I need to demolish this one and build a new one. Yeah, it's very common here, very common in construction.
So one of the things that we teach here in, as part of the course, theoretical, is change management, yes, and change management processes. And we say it starts with a change request. So when somebody's identifying that a change is needed or can improve the process, and then the project manager evaluates the impact on the time, scope, and cost, and risk, and quality, in consultation with others, and then sending it to the change control board, which is a group of people that are reviewing this, and they either approve it or not. Can you tell us how this works? What is the process? What are the steps in your company?
It depends of the size of the change as well. So change always happens. It's always gonna happen. So, but you have different, like, it can be a small change. Like, it can be a change in methodology, for example. I'll do a demolition job and we plan to do in a certain way. And for some reason we figure out that we can't do it. So we need to change the methodology. So that's different. We just do it internally, change the methodology,
When
get
you say
approval.
methodology, you mean the way you do something?
Yeah, literally, I know, there's a steel beam and you're gonna cut, the plan was to cut here and there, but when you get there, there's something that you not expected, or, just the crane that you booked is not there, so you need to use a smaller crane, so you can't cut a bigger size beam, so you need to cut in smaller pieces now. So that's a change, and you could expect that. So then you change the methodology, change the safety paperwork, get approvals internally, get approvals from your client.
So the last sign-off is by the client?
Um,
Or who has the last?
Yeah, I'll say the client will probably approve, because they own, like, on a construction site, they are the principal contractor, which means they own the site. So you are working on their site. At the end of the day, they need approval.
So let's say that the person who needed to cut the steel beam is saying to you, look, I can't do it because of 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Here's the change. So that's how it starts, the process?
Yeah, that one way to start.
What's the
process.
second step after this?
Then I need to evaluate. Probably I'll sit with the supervisor on site, which is like the foreman. The guys have got like experience
That's the guy managing, that's the person managing the work team.
Managing
On
the
the ground.
laborers, yeah. He's the guy who's got like 20 years experience doing just that. So probably it's a smart decision to
So
call
you're
him.
going to sit with that person.
Yeah, usually you do that. If it's just a methodology, yes. If it's an engineering issue, then you don't. You just call a consultant, a structural engineer, and you just discuss with him and come up with a plan.
And then the next step.
Then usually you get approval internally. Your safety advisor,
From?
like safety advisor, or depends on the change, even the divisional manager or someone like that. And then as soon as you have a proposal, you send to the client. That's how I want to do it. That's the reasons why.
So you give them the impact of time, cost, risk, quality.
The new safety paperwork and everything, and you need to make sure they are comfortable with the solution.
And when they sign off on it, you're good to go, or is there any more steps on the
Good to go. And that's a change in methodology. But if it's a change like a design change, which you're gonna have a variation or something like this, it's a bit different. You need to check the impacts to your program, to your budget as well, and then you submit formally to the client, and it needs approval.
But it's the same process.
Similar. Yeah.
You identify the improvement, you evaluate the impact, you put it together, you do the paperwork, and then you have the clients, well, your side is signing it first with the division manager or whoever the state.
Or it depends on the change you can do yourself.
Yes.
Like project manager can do the change and submit. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. Cool.
The strong side about it, it's always about safely and papers now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially in here, like especially in construction demolition, which is
And
very.
demolitions, it's
For example, the first
everything.
I was talking about like how they trust you in the beginning, like give you a lot of responsibility. My first job by myself here was the demolition of the monorail in Bro Beach, here in Gold Coast. I don't know how much time you guys here. It was in 2017, but if you were here for longer than that, then probably you drove past it, and when it still existed back then. And it was a massive project. It was the first demolition I've done, and so at some stage we were. So the monorail was is a tram. There was in a beam, like steel beams, driving on top like 10 meters in the air, crossing Gold Coast Highway, on top of Gold Coast Highway, crossing the river.
So dangerous.
It was inside a casino, so connecting the casino to the Wedge Shopping Center. We shut the Gold Coast Highway for 4 hours, and in 4 hours we had to cut the beams like 40 meters long, this high, and like huge steel beams.
Mm-hmm.
So up in the air, 2 guys cutting with cut, hooked to a crane.
Dun, dun, dun,
you know.
dun, dun,
And the most interesting part was we done this on above the river.
Mhm.
So when I was doing the safety paperwork, it was just crazy. Everything could happen, and like the guy is cutting the beam up in the air, right? And so, okay, so it's in an EWP, which is a platform, because you need to access there, and it's up above water. So then you say, okay, the guy is in the thing, he needs to be hooked to the thing, so you have to have harness. But it's on above water, so if that thing tips inside the water, it can't be hooked to it, because they're gonna drop. Okay, so we need to, and he needs to use, because he's oxycutting, he needs to use some sort of jacket so it doesn't get burned. But because above water, you need like some sort of floatable jacket, which gets burned and get damaged.
It's crazy.
And it's like, I need to do this, but I can't because of this. And then you need to find a way to be safe enough. Like,
Safely.
yeah,
Stay safe.
and you could like, and even it got to a point we were in a meeting talking about safety, and then the guy said, Did you include bull sharks in your plan? Is there bull sharks as well? Like,
Maybe.
cool, I'll include the bull sharks. Yeah, so it's like that. Like it's high risk. Yeah, there's actually one of the risks is bull sharks falling in the river and getting rescued.
About it.
Yeah. So it's high risk and it needs to be safe.
Yeah, I think at finish in constructions, I have some experience, not here, but I have some experience about it. And at finish, it's not about really the budget or about the time and how long will take to do it. Yeah, it is important. It's really important. It's about money. But at finish, it is about you will finish it, you will do, it will working. Because about money and time and professionals and technicals, at finish everything change over time.
Those three main things like safety, quality, and environmental, and the money. So at the end of the day, you just need to make sure like you finish whatever you're doing. Can be a software, can be a construction, can be with quality, in a safe way, with no like minimal damage to the environment, and within budget. So that's you need to make sure that happens somehow. You know, use your tools.
How strong is the reviews and the because in my experience I had a plan, a beautiful and perfect plan done by a good tool. We used project management at the I forgot the name MS project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so beautiful and so big. If you print it, you have 100 or 200 pages, and it was impossible to really manage the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we finished so many things at the building, and the engineers didn't have the time to manage the plan. Yeah, and it's just left. We used it just at the beginning, and after
MS
left the process.
Yeah.
What happened about it here in Australia?
You use MS Project if it's a contractual thing, like if you
But
change.
just the beginning.
When you get a contract, we have a program in MS Project, 100%. And if you change your program in a contract, like if you get a extension of time or something, then you need to submit a updated program to the client. But that's just at a contractual level. We don't on site. You don't use it because it's not easy to communicate with the workers.
Yeah,
like,
we use just Excel and Word, just fast communication by email, and yeah, it's changed at one day. We will change it in the plan.
Yeah, which goes back to the next thing I was gonna say is people management. Is like apart from contract management, people management is huge as well for anything like any project manager role. So that's one of the things. Like if you're on site, you're dealing with the supervisor and the laborers and everyone. You need to communicate. Like you can have the best program, looks perfect and everything very well thought of, but if you can't communicate with the workers, then you're not gonna get the results you want. So if I print that MS project and put in here, nobody gonna read it. It's tiny things, and you just so you need to present in a way they're gonna understand and they're gonna follow.
It's a little bit more about the contract in the beginning, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually in the works I've done is pretty much it. And so people management, going back to people management, I think that's one of the key things for a project manager, which is difficult to learn in school. It's important as well, but I think in education it's very difficult. For example, on site we would deal with the client, subcontractors, workers, your supervisor. Sometimes you have to deal with the police if something happened, or if you're closing a road, or transport companies. So you deal with everyone. So you need to kind of like talking to people because you're gonna get 100 phone calls a day, and you need to know people's qualities and limitations to get the most out of your team as well. For example, in an IT, for example, you're developing a software and you have 5 guys working for you. You kind of need to know, all right, out of those 5 guys, I have the guy that's good in finding a solution, but he's not very good in delivering on time. And I have a guy that is very good with details, but doesn't think out of the box. So you need to kind of know them and know how to communicate with them and how to make them work together. And I think comes with experience, pretty much. you can learn it, but it experience and just pay attention to people and listen is very important. Listen to what I was working with.
It was so different than Brazil.
Uh,
Here.
It is a lot. It's a bit different. Next step is that I'll talk about like some issues and difference,
Thank you.
and that's it's very different. I'll mention
Okay,
that.
come.
So now the third part of is about like what the issues we find here, and because we're talking to you guys, and I knew we're gonna be most of us like international students, I want to just not talk about the like challenges we have as project managers, but project managers in a different country, which is for us more specific. So that's change management was my list, but change management is for everyone. We talked about it, so I'll just slightly talk about it. It just needs to be very quickly, follow up very quickly, and usually the difficulty of change management is because it's on the go. If I got a project, I have some time to plan it, and I'll sit with someone and plan out how I'm gonna do it and think about it. But if something changes, you're already doing it, so you need to price something or need to change methodology, and while you still running the job. So we still have, I can't like have 50 guys on site, 10, 20 pieces of machinery. I can't just sit everyone, oh guys, just wait for a week, I'm just gonna sit in my office and think how we're gonna do this. So just relax there and chill. Because, for example, the hospital, my cost to open the gate was 80 grand. So if I open the gate, don't do anything, $80,000.
You mean starting a work day?
Yeah. If I don't do anything, like a rainy day, all the machinery is sitting there, and the minimum hours for the workers. If I open the gate and don't do anything, 80 grand, like minimum. So you can't just sit and wait and change. So you need to keep doing what you're doing and do all the changes. So that's why it's tricky. Specific for us, for international workers or students, the language is a big one. For example, when I first started, my English was not as good as well, and I didn't know a lot of specific vocabulary for the industry. So one thing a story that happened to me, I was in the office on site, and then the guy just came to me, and a worker just walked up and said, "No, there's a shovel." And I said, "What's a shovel?" I didn't know the word. And then he was like, "Oh, this guy, this guy, you know, always working in the office, never got out there, doesn't know what's a shovel," and he did this, doesn't know what's a shovel, and I understand the body language. I'm like, oh, all right, I know it's a shovel, I just don't know the word shovel. Manage a team, like if you're leading, so imagine that I was leading the team, and imagine leading a team where the guy thinks that you don't know it's a shovel. Like, how can be a leader? How can they're not gonna listen to like this guy doesn't know.
Yeah, to get this respect from the local people, I think not easy. It's not.
Thanks, man. Exactly. In your own country is difficult. Like you work in Brazil or in Colombia or anywhere, it's very tricky because like usually your workers, not usually, but they can be older than you. They have experience, or even for you girls, you have this as well in the construction. You being there, like you are a girl and you work in an industry that's mainly guys, and you have these kind of things, or everyone's 50s, 40s, or 30s, I don't know, and you're 20-something. And so it is already tricky to be a leader or to be a manager in that situation. In another country, we have additional challenges, which will be this, like you need to prove yourself and speak in their language and be confident as well. And that's one of the things, the difference in culture, as you asked as well. Here, the culture is very different on site for a lot of different reasons. And for example, in Brazil, you have, I think the workers are a bit more respectful, I'll say. So they respect you for your position. Like, you're the engineer on site, they're gonna talk to you. Okay, can I do this? Is that okay? Here, no. I'll say it's a kind of an aggressive culture. It is I don't know, especially in the construction, it's everywhere, even if you grab me a coffee. But it is a bit of an aggressive thing. So you need to be confident, I had to learn how to talk to them. Like in a meeting, I was just being polite, waiting in the meeting, okay, I'll wait my turn. People talking, they're like, I'm thinking, bah, and someone just, and actually I was thinking. And then you need to kind of learn how to do it. Someone's talking, as soon as they finish, you're like, and if you wanna, and if you wanna get a message across, and even with the workers, if you put too
Like
much.
the woman in Brazil in constructions, you can't say, hey, excuse, you never will talking, you need just talking and
Yeah.
take your
You know,
space.
you need to be confident as well. If you're not confident here, they're not gonna listen. So you just need to say, look, instead of saying, would you mind please doing this for me, like with very nice voice. In Brazil, I'll talk to the guys like this,
Yeah.
with this voice. Do you mind doing this? And they listen to it. Here you need to like, oi, do you mind, can you do this?
So rude.
Oi, mind. Need to do that, you're still polite, but you need to be sharp, you need to be confident. Look, I need to do this, what do you think about this? Okay, no worries, all good. And you just, boom.
What do you need to have to get internship in construction?
Need to work a lot, but that's in here, which
Okay.
is that's all right. But it's the next step is what it takes to become a PM in Australia, and if it's a career worth pursuing. So
Can I ask you something?
yep.
I'm there here on the online course. Gustavo, let me ask you something. You said you have some internees.
Mm-hmm.
How does it works like in your company, the internee works? Because is this paid? Is this 20 hours a week? Just people who is doing university can do the internship, or like me as a project management student could do something like this? Could work as an intern for you, for example.
You could, yeah. Definitely could. Usually it's not paid internship. It can be, you can call a cadet, which is something like almost a graduate. We can pay some as well, but usually it's unpaid internship. And you can definitely if you're studying. But the tricky thing I found out recently as well, because I know a lot of people that very qualified people with experience and are willing to do an internship. Just for me, it would be amazing. Like I was running this project in the hospital, and I definitely need help. Like people, qualified people, getting interns, which is okay. Everyone needs to learn. That's fine. But they were like just starting uni, didn't know anything about. So I was taking more time teaching them than actually getting help when I'm doing things. It's okay as well. I mean, everyone needs to learn. But then I said, look, guys, I know a lot of people. Usually like international people, of course. They already finished their degree, they have experience overseas, they're gonna help me a lot. And I found out the tricky is it ended up being insurance. So I was getting the interns from this one university, mainly because the university had an insurance that if something happened to the intern, then they'll take in their insurance, not my company's insurance.
But if I can pay for it, I can do it.
I think so. I think if you get the right insurance, I don't know how it works, which one it is or how much it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a work insurance, then I believe I could get across somehow.
It is a good one because if it is I don't know, it is a problem here because the university paid it for the students.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly. That's why someone is very tricky. I don't know if I can say that. FBI doesn't be after me, but some of the.
But it's real.
Mm-hmm. Some universities, the tricky things, they sell this saying, no, we are very good university. 90% of our students go straight to a company to do the internship. So, well, that's probably because they're very well known or very good quality. It's usually because they have a good insurance.
What's an average duration for internship? So if I were to take an internship with your company and not being paid or paid peanuts, how long would I have to endure that?
I did it for 2 months.
That's it?
But you have to do the best intern you can.
Yeah, you have to
But
do
you can vary. Like I saw interns doing 2-3 months, I saw guys doing 6 months, not much more than that.
And they all come from engineering background, or some of them have just done a project
Project
management?
manager. I have an intern here in Tui Valley. He's doing a project management course, I think in university, but he's a PM course. Funny thing, you get called site engineer even though you're not an engineer. I don't know why, but I deal with a lot of site engineers in the clients, and I find out they did a project management course, but it's just the name of the role, site engineer. Doesn't mean that you need to be engineer. But what you need to do, you need to work a lot. That's for sure. Like it's not easy. We're not gonna stay here and say it's easy. It's gonna be all everything sweet. But and unfortunately, we need to kind of swallow the pride a little bit. For example, I'm studying in the university in Brazil, Unicamp. If you're Brazilian, you know it's a very good university in Brazil, one of the best in South America. Nobody here heard about it.
Yeah.
Nobody here cares about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Like, yeah, not here, no, you guys know, but in Australia, if I go in an interview, I know I'm from the company, the best in the world. I don't care. Well, in Brazil, okay, they don't care. Like, so they don't know. So this kind of thing, just make the piece.
Sorry to say, but shame on them, because our universities sometimes have better quality.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I study in the University of Queensland, which is a great university as well, in Brisbane.
That stands out
But-
a bit, but compared to the ones in Queensland here, like Griffith, Southern Cross, that goes way behind Brazil.
Yeah, Unicamp, in my opinion, it's just an opinion, is much more difficult. It's much better quality education, but
Not
it's
even
just
an opinion, but data tells us that.
yeah,
Data
no.
tells us that.
But if you go in the interview and you say, I'm from the best university in Brazil, they're gonna laugh at you, unfortunately. Like this, that's it. That's how it works, unfortunately. So you need to make the peace with that. You need to make the peace. If you wanna go after this, you need to breathe, make the peace, and know that probably if in an entry level, you're gonna work a lot of long hours. You're gonna prove yourself 3 times more than anyone else. And it is what it is. Like, it's not gonna be easy. It's possible, but not gonna be easy.
I have a question. Being South American definitely brings you to another level of social interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot of background, you know a lot of people. So do you think that this was something that brought you forward in your position, because it is a very different profile being a Brazilian and dealing with all the multi-background? And then here, sometimes Australians are really closed. So how do you think that benefited you in your job? Because I think sometimes this is one of the best skills. Interpersonal skills are sometimes better than what you've got on paper.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you think?
Exactly. Very good question. I used to say that I'm a part-time engineer and full-time psychologist on site, because I know everyone like this job into it. I had 50 guys. I know them everyone by name. I know what they're going through, and if I'm walking from my car to the office and I'm walking through those guys, I know which one are the guys don't have a good day. No, and then later I just go talk to him like, everything fine? You're going through something, That's one of the best skills you have. Like as I said, people management is gonna be one of the best skills, and that's as I said before, it's experience. You can't learn it. Like you can't have a people management.
Because we become a bit passionate at work. We are emotional.
Yeah.
So I'm not
And you
saying,
get that.
I'm not saying it's something bad from the Australian management, but sometimes they just don't have it.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
It's good. Like for example, I have a supervisor. What I see here, the engineer and supervisor is like arch enemies. They hate each other always because it's an ego fight all the time. So who rules the thing. So because we have these skills, you can talk to them and kind of, so you have a plan and you talk to them because you kind of becomes not friends, but you can have a good relationship. And it buys into your plan, and that's amazing. When that happens, then your project is gonna go forward. Like, say, look, that's what I'm thinking, what you think, and get the idea and share it and say, okay, so that's a problem. Are we doing this? And say yes, and he's gonna do everything for you. He's gonna do whatever he can to get it done. But if you just go there, you don't have a good relationship with him, and just say, "Oh, that's what I need to do," and they're gonna say, "Nah, I've done it for 30 years. Get out of here. I'll do it my way," and then go south. Something else that, as a like South American or international professional, you see things like you experience that through life here. Like you see, for example, in our society, how the system works in two different countries. So in Brazil, we say, that's how clean the streets are, and here how it is. And you see two different worlds, so your brain kind of understands that you have more options, so you can think outside the box sometimes. And that helps a lot here, because sometimes when you have an issue, some changes and issues, I can feel that because I have different backgrounds and be able to think in different ways and different approaches, when something happens and people usually just freak out and like, oh, I don't know what to do. It's a lot here is good. Everything is got a checklist, but if it goes out of checklist, then people sometimes get lost. But if you grow up not having a checklist, then it's okay. Like, no, I just tried this way, so that helps as well. I think that's something good if you have different background. And that's if it's a career worth pursuing, like it is good. Like it's good having different experience. It's like amazing having experience in a different country, and things like that for your country back. Like if you go back as well, is good. Or even having different experiences, like you're gonna be able, as I said, like think outside the box and things. Salary is good. Sometimes you get a company vehicle. Like it is good, so you can have a good quality of life. But usually you work a lot. Sometimes construction, you travel a lot, like you move a lot, so it's not gonna be easy. So things at the end of the day is up to the individual. So what I think, you need to like research, see how it works, try to have a feel how will be your life in that situation. Talk to people in the industry, like people doing this, and at the end, just sit with yourself and ask yourself, instead of asking someone, ask yourself, what do you want? Like if that's what you want, what's your goals, and if you're willing to do what you need to do. So I think I can't answer that question, say if it's worth or not, and it's up to the individual. So yeah, you need to ask yourself that question. But I think it's very interesting. I really enjoy what I do. I think it's very challenging, but I like it. But I know it's hard, and yeah, and it changes as well. It changes for people and changes through time. For example, me, I'm also through time say, okay, that's what I want to do, and then sometimes like, I might open a company, or I might do something else. I don't know. It just changed through time. So you need to ask yourself and keep asking yourself. I think that's what I would say. So I think if you have more questions, I think we do going through them for the thing, but if you have more questions now as well, I think there's a time to sit and discuss.
I have one. So in the last unit we delivered, and the one that we're going to start next week, there's a tool we use to look at variances in the performance of the project baselines, and what mainly cost and time, the end value management. So I was just wondering if this is something that's used in construction, if anybody's ever doing that or nobody. End value analysis.
With the actual software, or?
You don't need the software, but you could use a software, or you could just use a graph and just see where you are in terms of how much you were supposed to do, how much was spent, and how much of the actual work, and then draw the three baselines as a curve, and then see the schedule variances and the cost variances.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you need to have like cost tracking, ongoing cost tracking and productivity tracking. For example, in a civil job like this, so there's a lot of movement, dirt movement. So I had a plan how many truckloads I had to do per day, for example, just one example. And you can track that. So you have a guy running on site with a spreadsheet, just checking, all right, today you had 120 truckloads, tomorrow that might, and you get all this data. That's why I did an intern, because I can't do it.
It's needed every day.
Yeah. Like every day, a lot of different, I have key things that I'll ask the guys, okay, I need to know this, how many of those, how many of this, how much material we're importing, how much of this every day, and then the intern or someone that put in a spreadsheet, and then I can compare. Okay, I can compare the budget changes. So I'm thinking, okay, this month I'm supposed to spend $1 million, and I spend $1.5 million. So how can I explain that to my boss if they ask me the question? So, yeah. So I can say, okay, I spent 1.5, but I've done this variation, which is I had to move that much dirt more. Like I have 400 loads of truck extra that I should have, but they're gonna get paid for because I submit a valuation which you got approved, and also you got to have all this information. And like usually what I have is a monthly report, and then you just report to the office. I report to Melbourne.
Is that the progress report? What are you reporting on? Is that a progress report?
Yeah, so it's a month, they call monthly report, but it's progress, financial, everything. So I'll send to Melbourne. I send to Melbourne saying, look, that's how much I'm gonna spend this month, that's how much I'm gonna claim the client, that's much profit I think we're gonna do this month, that's how much it's gonna cost next 3 months, and that's what we've achieved. We built this part of the building already, or demolish this part of the building already, and you need to track, because if you don't track, there's no point of finding out at the end of the project, oh, we lost money. No, then too late. So you need to track continuously and say, oh, all right, it's not looking good, need to change something, and you can change and progressively go closer to the ideal line that you've been planning.
Okay, well, I've got 2 more, but maybe I'll see if somebody else wants to ask something. Okay, I'll go. So I'm really interested in the definition or the addition of milestones to the timeline. How do you work with milestones?
Changes on milestones or?
No, defining the milestones. At what stage do you do it? Who is responsible for creating them? Who's involved in the process? And how do you track towards milestones every day, every week, at 50% of the task? What do you do when you realize that you're not going to meet the milestone? How many milestones do you have in a 6 months project, for example?
It varies, as everything else, it varies a lot. But usually it comes with the contract, and there's a draft program. It comes with the contract. Usually the client, when in construction is, I think if you're doing a software, it's the same. Like the client is paying you to do something. He want to know when it's going to be ready, of course. So the builder will have other guys coming after you, like building the hospital. I'll just give a real example. So in the hospital, I'm doing the roads and all the preparation. But as soon as I finish and hand over, then they're gonna build the hospital, or build the actual structure. So I need to tell them when I'm out of there. So when my machinery is out of there, so they can get guys doing the concrete and everything. So that's something that is negotiated at the start in the contract.
No, but for your project, because you're saying that your whole project is just one milestone at the end of it.
No. And I'll have like packages or parts of my program or my project that I need to hand over. Sometimes it's like usually in construction in different areas, because they have their plan. So I'll say, okay, there's the whole project. I need to, so this area here, I need to deliver on that day in July.
So this is handed down to you with the information package about the project?
When I have the program, when I'm tendering, when I'm pricing a job, I'm gonna send okay, that's how it's gonna cost, and now I'll do 6. So we have a lot of milestones, and what happens is, like, if you have changes again, or for example, in this job, I had 40 days of rain, intensive rain. I don't know if you guys remember, like June, February, or March is all the floods and stuff. I had 40 days of intensive rain while doing like a civil job open. And when I have 1 day of rain, it's 3 days of impact, because I need to clean the next day, clean the damage. Sometimes I'm building a road, so sometimes half the road's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, I need to get the guys there, build it, and tied up all the damage and stuff. So when that happens, I have, it's a contract management. So what happened is I realized, that's gonna impact my milestone. This one specific roads. I'm not gonna do the roads because half of it's gone because of the rain. So just gonna put something called extension of time. So it's a contractual tool to push back my milestone. And why? Because if you don't do it, every day that you delay, you get charged by the client. It's like, for example, $10,000. So every day delay is in a contract. So you're gonna get charged. Yeah. So at the end of the project, you finish and say, oh, I delayed 20 days, and then there's a bill. By the way, 200 grand. And so you send an extension of time, contractual document saying, due to the rain, event this day, you had this damage, take photos, and you say that's gonna impact 5 days in my program. So you ask formally for your milestone to be pushed back.
And they need to approve it.
They need to do it.
So in agile methodology for delivering IT projects, there's a thing called stand-up meeting, which in the morning the project team is standing up and discussing for 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long it takes. It's called stand-up, and they need to stand up so it's not long. And what they discuss is what they've done yesterday or last week and what they're going to do today, and if there's any blockers. Blockers are things that are getting in the way of us carrying work tasks, the allocated work. And then it's the Scrum Master's job to remove the blockers so that they can finish their job. And every morning they have to do it. Most organizations that are running it will do it every morning. So do you have something similar, or when do you catch up with your team? Is there a time where you all huddle and discuss what we did yesterday, what we're doing tomorrow, today, and what are the blockers?
There's something called pre-start, which is literally a meeting pre-start.
Pre-start.
It's pre-start. So it means literally a meeting pre the start of the day. So you get on site 6:30 in the morning, and you're gonna start 7. So 6:30 to 7, you gather all the workers. Then you and the supervisor gather everyone, and then you can talk to them and say, look, the plan today is doing this. We're gonna be working in that area. Careful with that area because we have some other subcontractor or a machinery live there. So just share with them. Say, you have any issues? And sometimes they bring up, say, this machine is not turning on, or something's happening, or actually I went there and the other guys have everything happens on site. Like we plan to work in some area, then you get there and there's like a truck sitting there, and nobody knows there's a key for the truck. So this kind of thing. Then you share this. There's a plan for today. Any issues? All good. There's a pre-start. That happens every day.
Every day.
Every day, every morning. There's another one called Toolbox, and that's is a meeting that you call everyone for some reason. Like I always call when I have an incident on site. Sometimes you have an incident.
What?
Incident.
Incident.
Yeah, which can be small, can be a near miss, can be anything, like something fall from the heights. Nobody got hurt, nothing happened, but could have happened. So then I say, guys, I'll have a toolbox. So I call on the radio, guys, toolbox at 3 p.m. in the office. So everyone goes there, and then so look, that's happened. How can you avoid this in the future? That shouldn't be done like this. And then you have something to communicate and extend as well. And you have another meeting, doesn't have a name for it. It's just you and supervisor or the leading hands. And usually in the afternoon, I just call them and then say, have these issues, or what are you doing tomorrow? Okay, you're still going on tracks. Yeah, cool. Oh, look, this is supposed to be finished last day. Is what's happening? Like just a catch up. Yeah. So 3 types of different things.
When you say everybody, is literally everybody, or like only the supervisors?
On a pre-start is literally everybody.
How many people do you have?
In this site, working for my company, it was like 50 guys. Yeah, but usually on site, you might have 200 because they have other contractors in there. But for me, it was 50 guys. Yeah. And yeah, it needs to be everybody because usually that's when you talk about the interaction. So for us is for the other guys, it's very important. Like in construction, sometimes we're working at the same time, or electrical guys, they're just installing like electrical stuff. But we need to tell them, oh, look, in this area, literally use something like that, and you drive up. In this area, I'm gonna have trucks and like heavy machinery, like huge, like dozer or excavators. They're gonna be tracking along this area, so nobody can enter here. So it's a safety issue. You need to say like, don't go there, please. Yeah. So it needs to be everyone. Cool. Any other questions and comments and anything?
Reports, it's done every day as well.
Reports.
The reports about, because you say at finish you need talk with the sponsor and hey, you spend so much more money because we had the running days, and yeah, it's happened at this day, this time, and you do the reports every day about the work day.
You should keep a diary, like a diary or like somewhere you can type or just write. Literally, a lot of people just have a diary, like you just write down in a book, oh, this happened today at this time, or I had 30 trucks, because they'll help you with your cost tracking as well, which should be every day in a big job. And it will help if something goes wrong or something happens, then you can go back and say, oh, on that day, that's what's happening. But a formal report, probably monthly, or when something happens, and at the end of the job 100%, like explaining why you lost money or why you're making so much money, or
You can always find it in your email, because you will need talk with someone at time it happened. Yeah, if you don't take the date, just go to your email and looking for some things about it, and you will find something.
Yeah, I've been doing that actually, like to go paperless. Don't like writing, every year have a big diary to throw away or keep somewhere. Sometimes I use my own email, send myself an email, and the subject is like diary, and I just type quickly. I'm just in the office, just like this, and send to myself. So if I go to my email and type diary, I'm gonna have all the diaries. Well, you can do it. You can use softwares probably nowadays.
Probably.
But I should keep your
Never
notes.
used it really.
Yeah, but formal reports like once a week or monthly usually.
Thank you.
Nice.
Cool. Well, thank you very much.